When Thomas Frank declared this to be a transitional season for Tottenham, he did not mean transitioning from the Premier League for the Championship. But after this damaging defeat to a struggling Newcastle, relegation feels a very real possibility in N17. Sign up for the football newsletter. Thank you. Jacob Ramsey's first goal for the club proved to be the winner on the nightCredit. Getty. Ramsey was able to get on the end of a Gordon ball to poke homeCredit. PA. Archie Gray gave Spurs some hope at the start of the second half. Credit. Getty. They are certainly showing the kind of form that sends teams down, with their run now an abysmal 2 wins in their last 17 league games. Goals from Malick, Thiaw and Jacob Ramsey, his first for Toon, either side of an Archie Gray leveller, was enough to inflict the latest misery in North London. While many fans appear to have had enough of Frank, regardless of the Dane's protestations that this will be a campaign of transition and his exploits in the Champions League. They booed his team at halftime and full-time and sang, "You're getting sacked in the morning," in Frank's direction. Read more. They even belted out the name of beloved old boss Mauricio Pochettino, many of whom would like to see the Argentine back in the dugout. And now, with a 12-day gap to Spurs' next fixture, the North London Derby, of all games, you wonder if the hierarchy may just waver on the faith they have shown Frank so far. Meanwhile, it was a big win for counterpart Eddie Howe, who had received his own flack after 3 straight defeats. Yet the travelling Toon army made their feelings about their under-the-pump manager very clear with a rousing rendition of Eddie Howe's Black and White Army inside the first minute. Most read in football. Best online casinos. Top sites in the UK. Spurs made a nervy start as Yves Bissouma needlessly headed a cross out for a corner, the first of 9 for the Magpies before the half-hour. From that flag kick the ball hit centre-back Radu Dragusin and could have gone anywhere, but luckily for the Romanian it went over the bar. One of the biggest criticisms of Frank's football has been how devoid of ideas his team appear to be when it comes to breaking opponents down in open play. Once again that problem reared its head again here, with Spurs resorting to punting it long far too often. That had the home fans agitated, and the way Newcastle were exerting pressure had them anxious. Injuries have been a persistent theme for Spurs over their miserable last 2 Premier League campaigns. And once again they suffered what looked a bad one here as Wilson Odobert jarred his left knee in an innocuous challenge with Harvey Barnes. Xavi Simons summed up how all Tottenham supporters are feeling right now. Credit. Getty. Thomas Frank must be on the brink of the sack after going winless in 8 games. Credit. Reuters. The good news was that the stretcher that threatened to come at one stage was not needed. Odobert was able to walk off but headed straight down the tunnel, to be replaced by France under-21 teammate Matthijs Telephone. Newcastle have come under fire for their poor recruitment last summer, with £40 million Ramsey deemed a flop to date. But the ex-Aston Villa man was much better here, playing in the Sandro Tonali role, and it was his pass that set away Joe Willock with a minute to go to the break. Former Arsenal midfielder Willock showed good pace to keep the jet-heeled Mickey van de Ven, Spurs stand-in skipper with Christian Romero suspended, at bay. He then cut inside and fired brilliantly into the far corner for what looked to be a deserved opener, only for VAR to find a tiny part of his forehead had apparently strayed offside. Yet in fairness to Howe's side, they shook off the disappointment and 5 minutes into stoppage time, they had the lead, good and proper. Dragusin had given a silly foul away on Barnes, and from that free kick, a phase or two on, Malick swung in a cross for Thiaw to attack. The German got a good header to it, forcing Guglielmo Vicario into a strong stop, but as the ball rebounded, Thiaw was quickest to react, outmuscling Pape Matar Sarr and poking home. Boos rang out for the halftime whistle, and not for the first, second, third, fourth or even fifth time this season at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Newcastle continued to apply the pressure after the break, even with João Palhinha on at the interval for the ineffectual Bissouma. Spurs lost yet another player to injury when Wilson Odobert was forced off credit. Shutterstock editorial. Anthony Elanga had one of his best outings in a Newcastle shirt. Credit, Getty, and when yet another half-chance fell the visitors' way, the South Stand showed their displeasure with Frank by chanting Pochettino's name. Ironically, from there, Spurs seemed to finally spark into life, with a flurry of opportunities. Telephone had a couple fired over twice, the latter after a wriggling run from Gray, and then Sarr stung Nick Pope's fingers from range. Then on 64 minutes, they had an equalizer. It came from a corner, like so many of the goals have in Frank's tenure, with Xavi Simon's delivery headed back across goal for Gray to fire home from close range. But parity was short-lived. Ramsey started a move from just inside Tottenham's half and finished it with a clever finish into the far corner, after a neat layoff from Old England under 21 Pal Gordon. It was a super time for the 24-year-old to find his first goal for the Toon, and his celebration said as much as he raced towards the away fans and roared with delight. A notably large number of Spurs fans had left their seats and gone home with 5 minutes still to play, just as news of West Ham's opener against West Ham came through. Recommended stories. Spurs have been a Premier League ever-present since the division's inception. But there really is panic on the streets of North London now, with Frank looking in all sorts of trouble. Comments.